everybody. Welcome to another movie episode. Not an MCU one this time, but another movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's with me tonight?
Janky old broke hobo Spider-Man, Michael K. Hughes.
Bill from the Disasterverse, Tucker.
And Peter, I didn't think of a funny name, Bingham-Pankratz.
I don't feel bad.
No one does. It's fine. Everyone forgets and thinks of it last minute. Don't sweat it.
I remember watching this movie and I'm going to write down a quote. And then I realized as we start recording, yeah, that never happened. Well, now we're doing things a little differently tonight for this episode. Since you guys have been so awesome in listening to, we'd already have released 6 of the MC movies at the time that you're listening to this. So, and as a tribute to getting through the first phase 1 with us, we decided we're going to do something a little different, a little palate cleanser in a way, but still comic booky because that's what I want to do. We're going to be talking about and Into the Spiderverse, which came out in 2018.
Yep.
It took longer to pull up than I thought it would.
No one will notice. Don't worry.
That's right.
Well, they won't by the time I edit it. So I mean, first, I want to say I never saw this movie before. I don't know why I didn't see this in theaters, but I think I was just working way too much in 2018, and I didn't go. December, yeah, I would have been working a lot because I work at a shipping place, so I work a lot in December. So I never saw this, and I've been meaning to watch this for well over a year, and I just never have until this is actually Mike's idea to put this on the show.
Yeah, you guys had both said that you had never seen it, and I was like, well, we gotta fix that.
And thank you so much for doing so. I hadn't seen this either. This was released in December of 2018, so that's right in the middle of Oscar season. So I'm usually kind of boning up for the Oscars and seeing all the nominees. And even though this was nominated for Best Animated Feature, and I think it won. It did. It won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars that year. I just wanted to, and I've heard so many good things from people I trust. I just never got around to it. So thank you for bringing this little piece of joy into my life right now. This is pretty awesome. It was great.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm going to go ahead and spoil the end of the episode now. This film is going to have like a permanent place on my shelf. As of right now, this is my favorite movie, like, of all time. So I'm super excited to get into this.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
And before we go too far, Peter, do you want to mention where people might know you from real quick?
If you read sci-fi, I have published a few sci-fi books. My series is called The Fifth Civilization. You can find it on Amazon or wherever books are sold. So if you want a good adventure, I would say try and read that book as soon as you can.
I should really remedy that.
Right on.
I've been friends with you for years, so I get to read that.
You know what, Mike? We got to talk about that sometime. This is my life's work, and it's just collecting dust on your shelf, I'm assuming.
I haven't bought it yet. That's the problem. I need to buy it.
Oh, come on. Well, see, I don't know what.
All right. Well, it was good talking. I will be back.
See, Mike, you thought this whole episode was your idea. This is actually an intervention that Pete put us together for.
All right. So, Mike, since you want to kind of introduce how this movie starts off?
Oh, man, absolutely. So it starts off with a bunch of Columbia Picture logos, and it kind of jumps around. Well, no, like, I know that sounds like a joke, but kind of sets up the tone of the movie, where it kind of jumps between different versions, like how they might appear in different universes, until we finally get into the movie after a montage of images, complete with the number 42.
I gotta chuckle out of that one. Yeah,
I didn't get that reference.
It's just the number on the spider that bites Miles. It was the same in the comic.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of shows up a few times throughout this movie, and then Peter Parker from Universe 1610, I think, is the Ultimate Universe. Kind of gives us a little recap about his life up until this point for the last, 10 years, I think? I think I would know after I watched this movie 3 times in the last 3 days.
It's 10 years because he's 7. It's 20. He's like 26 or 27, so that makes sense.
He says he's Spider-Man for the last 10 years. He's the one and only. He kind of goes over some of the highlights through his career, including stopping a train from crashing. People might have recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Upside Down Kiss with Mary Jane that people might have recognized.
Sure.
Car flying through a window in slow motion that people might recognize.
That was Spider-Man 3, right?
No, 2.
2. Yeah, Doc Ock throws the car and then he dodges it in slow motion. This Peter tells it a little differently, where he knocks it out of the air with a single punch. And then he does this, which is a dancing scene He's like, yeah, we don't really talk about this. That was from Spider-Man 3.
So is this supposed to be kind of like a loose sequel to like, is this supposed to be the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man kind of thing, or just a joke?
So I think it's just nods to the movies that came before it, kind of tapping into that multiverse, whatnot.
Okay, it was funny though.
This open is so good because it does two things. It's setting tone, right? So right away you're getting basically what you should expect from this movie, which is high energy, a lot of reverence to the past, and also the comedic tone as well. This is going to be funny. This is going to have a lot of joyful energy, and it's going to love the past, which I just said the same thing 3 times, so I apologize. Just take whichever one you like, Mike. I just take. But no, this sets the table so wonderfully, and it also sets a lot of wonder, like why? What's with all the glitching? What's with all the colors? It just sets a lot of intrigue. So this is beautiful. It's just a wonderful opening.
And Peter also sets up the theme of always getting back up, which again the movie revisits multiple times.
Which I liked. Because I'm a big Spider-Man fan for years. That's one reason kind of why we have the cast that we have tonight is because 2 of us I think are big comic book fans, and 2 of us are not as much. I want to say.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever picked up a Spider-Man comic in my life. So yeah, I don't know.
That's kind of the idea for this show, because I mean this movie for a lot of people was probably their first introduction to Spider-Man. I mean, sorry, I've been around for everywhere, but I mean this is for a lot of people. This might have been the first thing that you had seen of Spider-Man, especially if you skipped the other Spider-Man movies, which came out like over a decade ago at this point.
Yeah.
Well, we had
first one was like
it's been like
before that.
Yeah, okay. I'm probably eating my own words, but still, it might have been for some people. At least this introduced you to other Spider-Man in a world that you wouldn't have known. Like, I know who Spider-Gwen was. I knew who everyone was, except for the robotic girl. So, I mean, it was cool for me to see stuff like that. But I like how even like early on, as the movie starts out, you have Miles getting ready for school. It's very simple, but I like kind of shows that he's not like, oh, hey, are you all packed? And he's like, yeah. Then he looks over and he's not packed at all. And again, high school kid. Like it sets the tone of how this guy is, like he's just kind of going by the moment kind of thing. He's not really, he's a kid.
It's like he doesn't take responsibility.
Yeah, that's probably what they were going for.
You gotta have that great power first.
That's right. Yeah. I just interject one thing because I want to get Peter's thoughts on these too. Did you know my sensitivities over the last six episodes? Did you notice the giant long shot of Sony on his headphones? That were just so blatant branding, just center justified, middle frame, slow turn around. But that Sony logo didn't move. Oh no, right there in front of you, evil advertisers. Don't be expected, friends. Oh, I know it's to be expected. I get it. It had the big Sony logo in the beginning, but man alive, we get it, Sony. We get it. Anyway, it just bugs me when blatant product placement just puts a little. Just to put a thing in my ear that's annoying. So Peter, what do you think about the open and kind of like how this character is introduced?
Well, it was very good. I kind of agree with what everyone was saying here. I did like the opening montage and narration because it's, people like me don't necessarily remember the whole story, and people coming into the movie for a new viewer might not necessarily know the story, and it's good to show the whole progression of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. You will see references to the other films in there too, but overall, yeah, it was a great introduction.
And another thing too about the introduction that I just kind of came to mind as Peter was talking is animated films hit a different demographic. That'll hit a younger demographic. So you get more kids. Parents are more willing to take their younger kids to a movie that's animated, whether or not it's PG-13. It's just kind of that natural progression. So you're right. There's gonna be a lot of kids in that theater who've never seen those mid 2000s or late 2000s Spider-Man movies. And this is just a neat introduction, and they're not going to get the references, and they don't have to. You're just seeing strength. You're seeing agility. You're seeing romance. You're seeing things that he's done without the context, which you don't need. So I think that definitely lends to it just benefits everyone's watching it, especially people, like you said, who Yeah, there's gonna be a large population who haven't seen those original movies. They came out a while ago, so this is a really neat introduction to who Spider-Man is as a character, especially for this film.
Right. Plus, Miles is a character that not a lot of people probably know is a Spider-Man because he's a newer one that came out during the Ultimate Universe in 2011. But he's not a real this was his first real big outing as being Spider-Man. I mean, he is in the Spider-Man game.
So he's a comic book property? I had no idea.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay. See, all right. See, I had no idea.
Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter Parker does die, and Miles takes over at the name Spider-Man. So they're pretty true to the comics in that sense.
Oh. All right, didn't know that.
And he is bit by different spiders, so that's why he has different powers too. So all that was taken right from the comics. The way that the characters look, like all the villains, that was all something different for this movie. Like they kind of took some of the aspects of the characters that would be from the comic, and then they just changed them. Like Green Goblin in the Ultimate Universe does look like a giant monster, but not like that kind of giant monster, like as you saw in this movie.
So good. Well, and we'll get to that scene too. And I also really like the way they set him up as far as his personality. He's popular. He's got a lot of friends at his old school, and I really do love the scene where he's walking down the street in his prep charter school uniform. So I'll get to all that. That actually made me very sad, but it was to that charter school uniform, but all his friends are kind of hanging out and high-fiving. It sets him up as charming, as lively, as fun, very affable. That's a tricky thing because you don't want him to come off as conceited, because popular can sometimes read as, a conceit. And they do a beautiful job of making him just seem like a fun kid who people like. And that's awesome. Digging his music.
Like your first introduction to him also, as he's running down the street, you're saying he's taking things too. He has these little stickers that he draws,
yes,
or he makes, and he's sticking them on signs and stuff, which again, kind of part of the character in this movie.
Yeah, it's great.
I really liked it. I wasn't sure how I was going to, but it was. I did like it when the dad shows up in the cop car and makes him jump in the back of the car. Like, that was funny.
So good.
Yeah, it's good to see it. I was going to say it's good to see a diverse cast as well. I know Miles Morales. I mean, I know that was it's true to the comic book, but it's kind of rare for a superhero movie to have anything but a non-white lead. And it's good that this cast, there was not as much emphasis on, the white characters. It was, Miles Morales, and there were women characters, and it's kind of the big hodgepodge that New York is. And it was good. It was good to see that.
No,
Frankly, it was refreshing.
Oh, extremely refreshing. Thank you for saying that too, because I had that down. It's really nice to see a superhero movie that's not completely whitewashed. That's nice. That's great, actually. And Black Panther obviously would be the other one, but it's very indicative. Like I said, last episode, I lived in New York for 4 years. I'm from the Northeast, northern New Jersey. And to see that represented so vividly and so respectfully is a real treat. So, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, Miles has a African-American dad and his mother is Puerto Rican. And he goes by her last name just so he's not Miles Davis, which makes me think of a Billy Madison quote.
That's good.
I feel like I should recognize that reference, but I don't get it.
Just be in your pants at school, consider me Miles Davis for Billy Madison.
That's right.
Okay. That's why I didn't get the reference. So I haven't seen that movie in years. We'll keep it that way. But I did laugh my ass off when his dad drops him off at school and he goes in the bullhorn. He's like, say, "I love you, Miles. Say, I love you." And everyone's just staring at him like that. That was funny.
It was a good bit.
It's a very good bit.
And for those that listen to the Avengers episode, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't always like my humor, but for some reason, this humor worked. Like, I wasn't upset. I was like, oh, that's a stupid quip. Like, this is funny. Like, this worked for me.
Well, it fits in the world. Like, it fits in the world, and it fits in the characters. And again, like I said in Avengers, this time around, I didn't mind the Joss Whedon out of nowhere references and out of nowhere, gags like the Galaga gag and all that. It still was charming to me, but I can get it if you don't. Again, that was all the rage, 8 years ago. Nowadays, it's gotten dated. All the humor here is completely integrated into those characters. And that scene in the cop car is just a really great setup scene for their relationship between the dad and Miles, where, of course, the dad's a cop. He's a good cop. And he sees his son, any sort of deviance from the norm, which, again, throwing some stickers on a sign in New York is not a big deal. Like, hello, my name is. Hey, listen, come on. You're not tagging the Empire State Building or anything, but any deviance, he sees it like, oh no, you gotta roll straight, especially with the his relationship with Aaron. But it's a great setup. Again, so touching and really very honest. And I also he makes a comment where he says, I only got into this school because of this dumb lottery. That is so, I mean, again, this is a New York thing, but New York public schools, you can get into the charter school system, which is state funded, and charter schools are like private schools. And you can get into by either paying or you can get into a lottery. And a lot of families who live in very poor neighborhoods in New York, in Brooklyn and Queens, they will submit their kids to go through this lottery. And this lottery system, if you win, you get to go to the more intense, better school, quote unquote. If you lose, you go to the really bad public school. And there's great schools in New York, but poorer areas, socioeconomics, that's just kind of how the world works. So when he was just bummed out, he was in this really tough school and that he probably shouldn't have been in, as we'll see in the next montage. It just caught me. Again, that's more personal than anything else, but I was like, yeah, man, because I work in the education industry. So it's like, ooh, you got put into a charter school you are not supposed to be in because your parents want you to be there because better life, right? Better school, better education, better life, better college, better than what I have. But sometimes kids just don't belong there and they drown. And man, does this boy drown, as we see in the next montage.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know it was kind of a reference to a real thing in New York.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's a real thing. The lottery, the New York lottery.
I was confused. I thought, like, well, I didn't get that. It just went right over me. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I, keeps going. But that's cool. No, it's based on a real thing. Or it is a real thing.
It is real.
The first 42 we see in the opening roll is the 42 that he is on the ball of the lottery where he won.
I didn't catch that. How funny.
See a bunch of balls in the background. Yeah.
Didn't make sense of it.
There's a movie out there that's an excellent documentary on it called Waiting for Superman, and it's a documentary about the charter school system in New York and how it's publicly funded and the lottery system and all that. It's excellent if you want to check it out.
Oh, cool.
Hey, we learned something new today.
Yeah.
It's not part of the DC universe.
No, it is not. Yeah. What's his name? Didn't direct it. Awful director. Tom Snyder or Zack Snyder. Yeah,
Zack Snyder, yeah.
Zack Snyder did not direct this touching documentary about kids trying to get into the charter school for a better life. No,
because they did. It would involve monsters and buildings blowing up and.
More like waiting for Superman to be good again.
Okay, so like I did like the school part when it shows him, like we were kind of referencing where he's taking the essay, like he fails the quiz and she's like, you got it 0 wrong. That way you knew what the right answers were and then wrote the wrong one to give him 100. Like, yeah. I thought that was cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Again, showing his intelligence. He's actually a smart kid. He just doesn't want to be there. He wants to be back with his friends, which is, we all know that. We were in high school and middle school. He's middle school, I guess, at this point, but no, high school. Sometimes it's all about where you're at, right? And making the best of it and having those friends and those connections. That's just as important as, knowing how to, divide a polynomial, right? And it's equally important. I don't either. I think I just made a word up. That's fine.
I was like, what are you talking about? I also like when they introduce, because I knew who the characters were when they first introduced Guan. Where I like the joke when he comes in where he's late to the class and he quotes Einstein something about where time is just is relativity, and I don't have the quote pulled up in front of me unfortunately, but it did make me laugh, and I like how it introduces his friend in the school. And then when he finally gets her name, she's like, Gwanda, I'm from South America. Or not South America, South Africa.
Funny.
He says the time is relative. Maybe he's not late, everyone else is early. And then he's just met with dead silence until Quinn has to laugh at how awkward the situation is.
It was funny. I also like how they don't introduce her as Spider-Gwen right away. Like when he or not even Gwen Stacy, he's just like, oh, my name is Gwanda. Like she just comes up with some other name. And I'm like, that's weird. That's Gwen Stacy. Like, that's Spider-Gwen.
And my wife's like, why did she not just say that she's Gwen? I said, well, she knows she's in another universe. There's very well another Gwen Stacy walking around here.
Yep.
Might throw up some red flags to someone.
Yeah, definitely.
Two of them running around. Yeah.
All of that made me laugh. Like I got into this movie right away, and I was like, okay, I'm all right with this. It's nice to be enjoying myself right off the bat, and then I do like it when you meet the uncle. Like I want to say in the comics, the uncle also plays a part in the Ultimate World, but I can't remember exactly. But I think he kind of he is in there. Like that wasn't where the story goes. Wasn't too far off what happens in the comics. I think. Unfortunately, I never read any of the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff because I don't care about Ultimate World.
Yeah, Peter, would you? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man.
Oh no, you're good. I had enough to say.
No, I just wanted Peter to jump in on this bit again because I know you're a super fan. Well, everyone's a super fan. I'm a super fan now. What are we talking about?
I think awkward teenage humor is pretty hilarious, and so the introductions of the introduction of school stuff was very funny for me too. I like that in Far From Home, or not Far From Home. What's the other one? Homecoming.
Homecoming.
And it was it's like a little bit younger version of Homecoming, where our heroes are just awkward kids and they can't quite fit in and they can't quite seem competent right away, but it just works for me. It just works.
Yeah, and it lends itself to growth, right? And that allows us, later on, as the movie progresses, he's going to grow and he's going to learn and he's going to turn super awesome as opposed to just heart awesome.
He's going to become competent. Yeah.
Yeah, competent.
That's what this whole movie is doing. Now that we're talking about it too, like every little scene is just about him growing as a character and showing, like when like I was saying before, he runs into his uncle and his uncle's like, hey, let's go. I got an area for you to go tag when I was doing some construction work, and he brings him down to the subway. But it's all, that's just moving the plot. But it also does feel like, development for the character where he's just like, man, I got to study. I got to do this. And he's like, come on. You don't need to answer that phone call from your dad. Like, you can kind of see how his uncle isn't the best influence, but at the same time, he cares about his nephew a lot. Like, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, he's the way I read that is, and again, this is such important, and this is just masterful character development, because when you're, in movies, every scene should do something. There should be no wasted time in the scene. It should be always doing something. Developing character is a moving plot. And that's always keep the train rolling. And what this is doing is both, because not only is it setting up them going into the train, into the subway tunnel, into this abandoned amphitheater, which there are in New York. Those do exist.
That's normal.
Oh yeah, that exists. You can't. I don't think you can really just walk into them. They're usually blocked off, but they are things that actually do exist in the underground tunnels. They're built in the 1950s and 40s, and they used to build these large things. And there's a lot of abandoned subway lines that just go nowhere. And that is an actual thing. But what it does in this scene, Aaron is the father figure Miles wants, and he's not getting from his dad, which is why he's so attracted to him. And Aaron cares. He encourages him in the things he loves to do. He's like, yeah, let's do some artwork. Yeah, let's do that. And all young men, boys, and girls too, but all boys really want from their dad is for their dad to respect them and for dad to be appreciative of the things they have, because dads are heroes to young kids. Your dad's your hero, right? And if your dad's not interested, that's just soul crushing. And that's why he goes to this somewhat shady guy, his shady uncle. But, the cool uncle who really is into like, man, that's a cool drawing. Let's go do this thing and forget about your test. There are other experiences in life than academics and, again, factoring polynomials. So I love it. And this establishes the vibe between the dad and Miles and the connection between Aaron, which sets up. And let me just say this now, because I'm going to say this over and over. The beauty of this movie is everything pays off. Everything pays off in the end. And I will point out these moments multiple times, and that is a treat and a joy when those things connect. When things connect in films, it is a joy. That's why Parasite is a joy, which I saw a few weeks ago. That's why this is a joy. So that's my overriding theme. I've said it once. Prepare to hear it multiple times. I apologize.
I did like where you have him spray painting, and like how they do that where he stands up and his uncle spray paints around him too. And like when I saw the spider first crawl on him, I'm like, oh, he's gonna get bit. He's gonna get bit. And I was thinking kind of like some kind of cool scene, and it was still cool and very. I was expecting like a big scene. It's just the spider bites him on the hand. He looks at it. You see the venom inject, and he just flicks it off him, which makes sense because that's what you would do. You wouldn't be like, oh my god, you just be click. Okay, we're done. Let's go.
So virtual expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really did.
That's great. I'm trying to remember the other spider biting scenes.
You don't need to remember.
And the Tobey Maguire ones, I think it was much more dramatic.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, it's extremely dramatic. The big music. Well, I think this one too. They kind of do that. I don't think the Tobey Maguire one was all that big a deal. Like, it was very dramatic for the spider launching his fangs into his flesh, and then he kind of just wipes it off, and that's the end of it. But still, this one again, because what's supposed to happen.
Right.
The fact that it just doesn't happen right away, and happens in very small increments. It is very Spider-Man that in that origin story, but again, just the way they handle it is very, very cool that they do that.
I liked it, and I love it when he gets his power. He doesn't really understand them. Like, you show him sleeping throughout the entire night while his roommate. I was really confused. I didn't realize he lived in a dorm. And I'm like, who the hell is this random guy in his room? Because I was not paying enough attention or something. And you have it where he's sleeping, but then he gets up and his pants my pants don't fit anymore. It's like I need new pants. And
it's very good.
Like hit puberty.
God, that was hilarious. He keeps saying, like, I hit people like, why did I say that? And he's talking to Gwen. He doesn't, as he knows, or I think this is maybe when you introduce her name. Yeah. And he tries to. I did laugh when he does the hand on the shoulder thing his uncle talked about in the earlier scene.
It's very good.
Put your hand on your shoulder and say, hey.
Definitely so cringe about the holder touch, because that comes back around too.
Oh
yeah,
like Phil said, everything comes back around. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, even like when he has the powers and he gets his hand stuck on her hair and he can't pull out. He's trying to. It looks like he's grabbing her by the hair. She's like, let go. He's like, I can't. Like, it's great. Like I was expecting him to get in trouble or something, not just them to go into the medical room or the nurse's office and they just shave off part of her head to get the hair off, and it works. Like, it's funny, it looks cool, it completely works for the character, and again, it all pays off.
And we can hand wave the comic book feel now, where half the actions are in comic book panels and labels on the screen. That's happening at this point, right? I'm trying to remember.
It doesn't start until he gets bit by the spider, and then he starts seeing the thought bubbles and the word boxes floating around. Well, and it's never implied that he sees them, but yeah, we see them.
Right, and now we're kind of getting confused because we know things are changing from second to second, as opposed to just being shown, okay, sticky hand, okay, pants. We're seeing this escalation of something either wrong or right, but this change of escalation, and it's just our brain goes, what is this? What's going on? At least my brain did, because this is the first time I saw it last night, and it's just this escalation of things happening, and it's really engaging, and even more so than obviously the things that have to happen, like the hair sticking and to show the growing of the powers and the abilities, because we do know he's becoming Spider-Man. Like, that's not a big surprise. How this is happening is the surprise.
It really grabbed me though. Like, I was surprised how I was really getting into this movie, like right off the bat. I was like, okay, this is fun, this is funny, this is good. So I was surprised. And then I do like that part when he's running around kind of, scared because of his power. And he runs to the guard. He's like, I know you stuck out last night. Like, I'm normally not into a lot of humor, but it was like, that was funny. He's running around and he runs to the guy's office. He accidentally runs into the security guy's office, which is funny. And then he starts playing the Spider-Man like Christmas song or something that the guy had on his computer. And
I didn't get that reference. I didn't get that reference at all.
It's one of the things that Peter says at the beginning. He's like, I put out a Christmas album, and then that kind of comes back around.
Oh, that's right. That's there. See, paying off. Sorry, guys. You have to deal with that for the next hour and a half.
You just need to see the movie more.
Yeah, really.
You just need to read all the comics and then see the movie again. And then you'll have a better understanding.
It only takes 10 years.
Yeah, sorry. I'd like to read the comics now. I'm not a comic book reader. Most I ever did with comics was in high school. I had friends who were into them, so I used to hang out at the comic book store and kind of look around and pretend I was like, oh, this is cool. But yeah, that's about it. So yeah, I'd actually like to read this comic book story. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's worth mentioning that the Into the Spider-Verse is based on a comic art.
Yes.
Of the same name. It's all about the Spider-Verse and multiple Spider-Man coming together to take on a common threat.
2015 it came out.
Yeah. I read it. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. It's probably going to be on this show too. So,
but
that's not here right now. But I was like, I enjoyed it. I thought everything was hilarious. Him running on the outside of the building because he can't control his powers. He's just sticking to everything. And then when he finally gets back to his room at his parents' house and the comic falls on him, the Spider-Man comic, which for those that don't know, that was the first appearance of Spider-Man, but it was a reprint version of it. Like the top little like yellow thing or color was represented. It was a reprint that came out. That made me laugh too.
Huh.
Because they wanted to, like, he doesn't have the comic from the 1960s. No, he has a reprint of this or something, but it was the same comic.
Yeah, instead of Amazing Spider-Man, well, I guess it would have been Amazing Stories then, but all the Spider-Man comics are tales in the life of Spider-Man to show that it's a different universe.
It was cool.
Yeah, and just Yeah, one other thing too, I really like about this opening scene, or this initial conflict of him as, junior Spider-Man, Spider-Man version 1 in his world. That is escalating. It's low stakes. And that's really great. He's not running from a train. He's not running from cars. He's not running from the cops. He's running from some doofy security guard who likes the Spider-Man Christmas song. And it's good. It leads us in. So it's low stakes, but there's still enough stakes for him, right? He's a high school kid. He doesn't want to get caught by the security guard. He's probably tangled with him before, tagging stuff, I'm assuming. So nice low stakes chase. We get to see him do a little intro Spider-Man-y stuff. The sticking everywhere is really good, because that brings to my mind, like, yeah, how do you unstick? Like, if you have sticky hands, how do you stick and unstick?
You sing a song, apparently.
You gotta relax.
You just relax and chill out.
Which is what when he's stuck to Gwen's hair, she tells him that too. She's like, "You need to relax, Miles."
That's right. Just relax.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I didn't catch that.
Wow. You would know.
Listen, I saw this last night. My plan was to see it the night before. I guess I should have seen this twice, and I will see this twice. This will be fun.
Yeah,
I actually might let my kid watch it. He loves Spider-Man. He's 4, but he has no idea who he is. This will be a good one for him. Sure, he'll never sleep again, but that's fine.
Actually,
he's gonna love Spider-Ham.
What's that?
He's gonna love Spider-Ham.
Yeah, Spider-Ham.
I know. I have a friend who showed this to his kid, and there was like a Spider-Man cartoon on the DVD, and like the kid wanted to watch it over and over and over again. So
nice. Okay,
get ready for that if you do it.
All right, I'm gonna have to think about this now, because
it's kind of painful too. Like, it's got its moments, but it definitely harkens back to old style Looney Tunes, and it's kind of painful.
All right, I got PBS Kids constantly in my brain, so I don't know if I need another. I have more kid shows shouting. Now this is a diversion. Kid shows. I discovered why I can't stand children's shows for the most part. They're all at the same volume, and it's extremely loud. Everyone is shouting.
Teamwork. What's gonna work? You get what that's from? Maybe.
No, I don't want to know.
I'm gonna guess Backyardigans.
No, I can stick a Backyardigans song, but I'm not going to on here. Maybe I will. Maybe at the end. But no, it's from God, I can't. It had a duck, a turtle, and a hamster. I can't remember the show though.
Is that not Backyardigans?
It's not Backyardigans. That's a kangaroo, a moose, a penguin, a hippo, and I'm missing one. I can't remember.
Is that stupid one where they're in the spaceship and they kind of fly around this dumb spaceship and do stupid things?
Oh.
No.
That's another one.
Backyardigans are a bunch of kids that go out and make their own
claymation.
It's good cartoon.
It is definitely what I was thinking of, though.
None of this is making a show. Don't worry about it. You can jump back in later when we start talking about Spider-Man.
I like it when he because he doesn't really know what to do, so he ends which makes sense after he finds the comic and realizes, hey, I have spider powers. He ends up heading to the subway to go find the spider that bit him, and he flicked off. And my wife's like, how the hell is he going to find that spider? And of course he finds it immediately because, comic book movie. But that body wouldn't be there anymore, because I'm sure a bug or something would have carried off that dead body a while ago. But, I mean, it's you find the spider. And this also leads into when you first see the Peter Parker Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin, which... my wife looked at me and said, why did the Green Goblin look like that? I'm like, well, and in the Ultimate Universe, they did things differently, which is what this is loosely based on. And they took all the villains they made. For some reason, they made Green Goblin like a big monster. Normally, he's like, let's say here, 10 foot, tall, big, muscular monster, but not like what you have in this, where he's like a, 2 stories tall creature.
Mm-hmm. Normally, he's just a guy in a costume. This time, he actually mutates into this big hulking beast.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for the stupid Green Goblin guy wearing a Halloween costume looking thing.
And on a space sled, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I do. I like classic Green Goblin, but I also really like the armor in the original Spider-Man movie. So that was awesome.
That was Willem Dafoe in the original one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. See, anything Willem Dafoe, I'm here for. Just sign me up for that man.
But it was really cool watching them fight. Like it was an awesome scene, like and I like seeing this different take on Green Goblin. Now it made more sense. I've seen the Funko Pop all over at the stores, but I'm like, what the fuck does he have that stupid hat on? He doesn't. But now I understand.
There you go.
That's what he looks like in this movie. It was cool. I mean, this is when the stakes start getting high. Like this is like you have them fighting. You have the collider I want to say the collider gets turned on, or at least partly turned on, and Peter Parker, who's been Spider-Man at this point for years, ends up getting all fucked up. He falls, he's buried under concrete, and I think Goblin either disappears or Goblin's gone. Like, you don't see him again in this movie. I don't remember what happened to him.
No,
you
so the
wait,
collider does get turned on, and Goblin kind of dips Peter into it,
Okay.
and it ends up having a chain reaction. The whole thing explodes, and then you kind of see it pans down. You see Goblin's leg like sticking up out of the debris. I guess it implies he's dead.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was curious.
Yeah, and then it shows Peter under the rubble, like you said.
Oh, and fun fact that nobody asked for. In the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Ham book, Norman Osborn is a turkey, and he calls himself the Green Gobbler.
Yeah, no, not here for that. I want nothing to do with this at all.
Oh, that's the tip of the iceberg for the animal puns. That stuff gets weird.
I think it is. I think it is worth dining on that first fight scene. Peter, what did you think about that initial fight scene?
I want to say something else. I was gonna say that when Kingpin comes on, I love the design of Kingpin, and I guess just Googling images, like I suppose in the comic books he looks kind of like that, but in this movie it's a little bit more exaggerated, kind of grotesque image, almost like something from the Dick Tracy movie or Dick Tracy comic books. Mm-hmm. He's got like that little head and the big. It's such an imposing image.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's such an imposing, and it just makes for a stark villain. And every time he was on screen, I just kept saying to myself, that's a good character design. That's like a classic comic book design right there.
Yeah, it's interesting. If that was Dick Tracy, his name would be Chesthead.
Yeah,
I'd be super into Chesthead. I'm super. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, we were watching it 3 nights ago, and my wife's like, "Why did they design him like that?" I said, "Well, I think part of it's just to be this big, imposing villain." And I said they also really like the shot of just his head in the middle of a black void, because it's such an intimidating shot. And I guess listen to the commentary. They said they basically wanted him to be like the embodiment of a black hole, like he's essentially about to create. So I think they succeeded in that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's actually really, really deep. That's really cool. Yeah, I just like, again, little head and a big body, big punchy man. That's all I thought. And again, not knowing the comics, I just put like big punchy man in my notes, and then someone will say Kingpin, like, oh, that's right, I've heard that name before. Okay. Did they ever do Kingpin in the original Spider-Man trilogy? Or, well, geez, how many Spider-Man trilogies were there or attempted?
No, he was in the Daredevil 2004 movie.
Okay, I never saw that.
He's also in the Daredevil season 1. Kingpin first appearance is in a Spider-Man comic, but they kind of, since he's more of he's just like a New York villain, but since he's more human, they usually have him fight Daredevil and other characters that don't have as much superpowers as Spider-Man does. But in some iterations, like in this one, you have him as just a super powerful monster almost. Like after you have Miles and Peter talking, you have Kingpin just beat the hell out of Spider-Man and kill him by punching him. I mean, that was brutal to me. I was like, that's what this movie gets. Like, they do it off screen, like you don't see it, but you know what happens, and it is. I was like, okay, that's intense. This movie got real.
This is a PG kids movie too. You just whomp someone to death.
Yeah, it was good though. It hit me. I'm like, oh, like this is not what I was expecting. And then when Miles goes to escape, because originally he's just gonna take the little thing and shut off the collider, but he ends up making noise because he's a kid and doesn't really know his powers or know what he's doing. And I like how they're like, there's someone else here, go get him. And they send the Prowler. I always have liked the Prowler. For those that don't know, Prowler is like in most, not in this version as much. This version kind of like has like not maybe cybernetic or enhancements. He robotic android-ish. I don't know, what word am I looking for?
Yeah, it's all just kind of armor.
Futuristic.
He's got gauntlets. He's got an enhanced hood to give some different vision augmentations. So yeah.
Normally he's not like that. Normally he's just, at least the Prowler I'm used to, he's just a guy in a purple cape that has like gauntlet guns and a cool mask.
Yeah, more like a Batman kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He is an old villain. He is from 1969, so he's been around for a while. But it was cool to see him in this, and it was. I love that whole everything that happened in this. He's also in Spider-Man: Homecoming, kind of in a very small scene.
Oh yeah, you see Hobie Brown in one of the newscasters on the high school morning news.
No.
I didn't even catch that.
In Spider-Man Homecoming, it's Donald Glover.
Oh yeah, who's Aaron Davis there? Yeah, I thought you meant the original Prowler, Hobie Brown.
Oh, I don't know. But, and Marshala Ali did the voiceover for Prowler in this movie, by the way. For those, he was from House of Cards and many other movies. He's going to be Blade soon, too.
He was also in Moonlight, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He's a great actor.
Oh, phenomenal.
Didn't he win an Oscar? I'm pretty sure.
You won an Oscar for Moonlight and for Green Room.
Oh, he's also Luke Cage in the Netflix series.
He's not Luke Cage. He's in the show.
It's such a good cast.
I can't read. Don't worry about me.
The cast is phenomenal. Yeah, Peter, thanks for that cast is outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like I'm trying to remember their name, but whoever does Miles Morales, all the actors, and Haley Steinfeld, Mahershala Ali, all the voices, and then people will talk about later when the other Spider-Verse people appear, but they just got the right people to do all these voices.
Yeah, and Haley Steinfeld, a little trivia-esque, she was nominated for an Academy Award in 2010 for True Grit,
nice.
Which she is fantastic in. She's so
also
good.
Rumored to be Kate Bishop in the upcoming Hawkeye Disney Plus series.
All right.
Yeah, when's that coming?
Awesome. Yeah, well,
I won't be watching that. We established how much I don't like Hawkeye, so forget it.
It'll definitely be on this show. We get there someday. So, and I like it how, which makes sense, being a kid that has power, he doesn't know what to do, is being chased by people trying to kill him. He runs back to his room, and I couldn't remember which room he runs into, but that doesn't matter too much. The part that did crack me up shortly after this is when he goes to the mask shop because he wants to buy a Spider-Man mask because he now has spider powers, and Stan Lee's there. It's like, I knew Peter Parker.
Love it.
And he sells him the mask. He's like, it'll eventually fit. And then he points to the sign, and it says, no refunds, no matter what. That was fun.
Do we know who did the voice for Stanley? Because I know he died.
It was him. It was one of his last ones.
Wow.
Yeah, this one, I've seen this movie probably a dozen times, and that scene still hits real hard every time, because his first words out of his mouth is, "I'm gonna miss him."
No, Stan, don't go.
Yeah, because when Miles runs, he runs back home, and then you see his parents watching the news talking about Peter's death, and it's just like this big event where it pans over New York and everyone's got their cell phone out watching the news feed.
It's really touching. Yeah, it was good. And like MJ's whole speech where he ends up running too, and where all the other people dressed up as Spider-Man and wearing masks and everything, and she's talking about what Peter did. I thought that was very cool to see how now that he's died, they know who he was, even though they think he died in an earthquake and not what really happened. It was very powerful moment. It hits too. It hit me a little, as she's talking about how he was and how he just wanted to help people, and I really like that part. I like MJ in general, so except Kirsten Dunst not as much.
Well, she spends half the movie screaming, so
it's fine. Peter, what did you think of the of this whole section here, and how do you think that whole death scene was handled? Because that was very, very well done.
Yeah, very moving. You got to just get in the universe of superhero movies where, these are all real people, and they're all, a superhero is like a big, large than life figure in these movies. And so to see the following of people, everybody's wearing the mask at the, to see that is just, it builds an emotional connection, because you say to yourself, this is not just a comic book figure to these people in this universe. It's a real person who means something to them, and I just I'm just trying to think back to the movie, because it's been a little while since I've seen it, but
it's a very interesting.
I did feel for it.
Yeah, no, you do, and because again, based on the reaction of everybody around, I think it's really great. He's a known figure.
Yeah,
he's not like in the shadows, or like he's fighting. He's saving the day, and he's probably, obviously, again, you don't know. They don't know he was destroyed by a giant monster with a circle head, but he was killed in the rubble of the earthquake. But to have that kind of impact, he was probably doing little stuff like you see in Homecoming, where he's just kind of helping out the neighborhood,
right? Which
is awesome. Small scale, but big impact, right? And that's sometimes I think it's great when movies do that. And yeah, it's extremely touching. And we only know Spider-Man, this Peter Parker, for what? Maybe 3 minutes. We've had maybe 2 scenes with him, but we can already feel that how much they care. It's really great.
Because we kind of skipped over the scene right before he dies. He meets up with Miles, and their spider senses kind of harmonize together. They sync up. He's like, "Wow, you're like me." It's like, well, if you stick around, I can show you the ropes. Like, he just wants to help him so he doesn't have to go through it by himself like Peter did the first time. It's just, yeah, he just wants to help. And MJ keeps bringing that up, too, during her speech.
Yeah.
Which plays such a big part in it. Like, the fact that, you know, he meets his mentor figure right before and he's going to help him, then he dies immediately after it. And that's powerful.
And Miles sees it. Miles watches him die. It's so
and how old is
depressing.
he? Yeah, how old is he? What, 13, 14? I mean, if he's I don't know how old he is in high school, but it's, man, yeah, imagine having these things you don't understand, these powers you don't get, that you didn't ask for, never asked for this. Finally meeting the person who can actually help you figure it out, and boom, they're crushed under a pile of rubble. Like, golly, that's just brutal.
Then all those villains are your villains. You have no way to defend yourself.
Yeah, that's a very accurate way to put it. It got me. I did laugh my ass off right after you have MJ's speech where he climbs up the building and he looks like he's about to jump. All I could think of was Matrix. That's all that came in my head. He goes top building, he goes, nope, and you just see another scene of him walking all down the stairs, looking at the building, goes up the lower building and tries to do it.
It's great.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
Triumphant music building up, and then it just cuts out to him running down the stairs again. It's like,
and yet another payoff of the untied shoe.
Oh yeah.
We haven't even touched that.
I forgot about the untied shoe.
Yeah, we've seen him trip over it once before when he ends up in front of Jefferson Davis's cop car at the beginning. And then when he's going to the school, his dad tells him to tie it. And immediately after, a girl says, your shoe's untied. He's like, I know, it's a choice. Because, again, the scene of the cop car where he's saying he doesn't feel like he has a choice about the school. And pretty much any direction his life's going, his dad tells him he doesn't have a choice. So leaving that shoe untied is the one decision he can make on his own. That's why he keeps saying it's a choice.
And it causes him to plummet from a building.
Oh, that's why he falls?
Yep.
Yeah, he trips over his own shoe. Yeah,
okay, I didn't catch that.
Then he knocks off the numbers on the building on the way down and lays in between a 42.
Nah, I didn't catch that either.
That's right.
Okay, that is cool.
Yeah.
I only watched this movie once, unfortunately. Yeah. I need to watch it again.
And in the process, we didn't mention that Spider-Man, a current Spider-Man, gives him that USB stick to shut down the collider, and he breaks it in the goober. That's what it was, yeah. And the goober, we'll refer to it as that from now on. And he breaks it in his fall. So now, as a viewer, you're like, all right, what is this kid gonna do? Like, it really does seem hopeless. And again, as a viewer, I'm like, all right, his MacGuffin is broke. You don't know how to jump. He's not very good at the Spider-Man thing. I assume he'll get better, but I'm really curious how. And man, I'm already hooked at this point, but now I'm super duper hooked.
I mean, he's ready to give up. Like, he goes to the grave. He's like, I don't think I can do. I promised you, but I don't think I can do it. It's like, I broke that thing you gave me, which is a super cool shot when he lands on the ground and then like zooms in, shows an outline of the goober shattering.
Yep.
More artistic brilliance in this movie.
Yep.
Yeah, the art and just the animation in this movie is amazing. Like, we haven't gotten there yet, but it is
colorful
amazing.
And vibrant.
Yeah. The colors really got me, and when I saw it for the first time in the theaters, I was saying to myself, this is a movie that I'll have to get on Blu-ray, and I'll have to make sure to like watch in the best quality format, because you need to see that to see all the designs and the vibrant colors and just the pastiche of amazingness. I think not since Speed Racer has been there such a colorful movie.
I mean, you mentioned that movie.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Which one? The
Speed
Speed Racer?
Speed Racer movie.
Never saw it. Never saw it
either.
Huh.
Well, that could be another one for the show. Just saying.
Well, to pick more franchises. I guess it's comic book related, sort of. No, the color palette in this is just, I mean, like I said, it's just this giant rainbow, and it's these explosions of color. And it's not even the sketching out, and not even the glitching. It's just the choices are so good. It's not this overbearing just rainbow fest of exploding light. You know, when it's muted and somber, it's the low tones are really great, and then when the action is flying around, it's just vibrant. And that's one of some of the great things about animation. You can do that in an animated film. You really can't do that in a live action. It has to be somewhat grounded somewhere, and just all those sharp edges of light and color are just gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
They find a good way to make it work in this movie, and
especially towards the end. I mean, towards the end, it actually looks like, when we haven't talked too much about the collider yet. When those when it's firing off and, well, colliding, it looks like comic book colors just colliding, exploding, and fracturing and just going everywhere. And it's gorgeous. It actually looks like a comic book when you're in that realm, especially towards the end when it's actually enveloping Brooklyn and you have the trains and the buses and
it's awesome.
Glorious. It's glorious. Man, just a treat. But anyway,
I think it's one reason that it was a critical success is that people were glad it wasn't the same kind of format as the Marvel movies had taken on.
No,
it was not, it was a new style. It was inventive. It was fresh. It was something new.
Yeah, and it's one of the big reasons I think we're doing it now as opposed to like when it was actually released. Because we all want to watch it and see it and talk about it because it's great. But also, it doesn't quite fit into the Marvel universe, and that's a good thing. This is not technically part of the MCU.
Not
right? No, right?
Yeah, this is a Sony movie.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Of course, it's Sony. I saw it on the headphones, but and a couple other times. Again, I'm sorry. I'm just sensitive to product placement. But yeah, this is something on its own. It's unique. It's great, and it's just glorious. We keep gushing like we're at the end, but we got a lot more to do.
Yeah.
So we're at
this
the cemetery
also where you have Peter B. Parker shows up, and like the first scene you see him, he walks up to Miles Morales, touches, and then Miles Morales ends up. I think he touched him or said something, but Miles ends up shocking him with his power that he doesn't even know he has yet, which is hilarious when he shocks him. And then you have part his intro, Peter B's intro, which is interesting. Like I like it how you have an older Spider-Man who's been Spider-Man now for like 20 some years, and he's lost, him and MJ had broken up, and he's fought all these villains. He's he's a little more overweight. He's like, I don't really care, which is also where in the comics there is a Spider-Man that is kind of like that later on, where things have kind of not gone so well. Like it was a reference to that, and I liked all that, and I also love the part where he shocks him, and then he gets attached by the thread, or the Spider-Man thread. But I love how it's like it's supposed to be. It's the machine he made on his hand, not freaking organic spiderweb popping out of his wrist. Fucking Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire movie. But I don't like that. It's not in the comics. And I mean, it's funny. They're like drop the. They're like, the cops end up approaching him. He ends up picking up the body. They think he's dead. And he's running away. They're like, hey, we have a guy running around with a dead hobo body or something. Like, it's just funny.
It's again another slightly, we're elevating the stakes. Now he's running from cops. He's got dead Peter, or we think dead. He's not dead, obviously, but unconscious Peter on his shoulder, and it's extremely funny. The dragging his face on the ground as he's trying to dodge the cars.
It's hilarious.
It is extraordinarily funny. But again, now we're in a situation we have slightly higher stakes. Him doing some action as he grows, the stakes increase with him. It's
like he's
masterfully
slowly trying to wake up. Peter is, and he keeps getting hit by things. Like, it is great.
Yeah,
I was
very
laughing
funny.
out loud watching that stuff. Yeah,
same. I was happy, and I was like, okay, this is good. This is very good. Like, and then when they finally do get I think is Miles' house or wherever the hell they end up to, and that's when you see them. He ties up Peter B. Parker to a punching bag to try to get more information. Like, who are you? How are you here? And he's like, Peter died. Like, but you look just like him, but older and a little more in the gut or something. Like, they make like, it's funny.
It's like a different shape. Pretty sure you just called me fat. I think he's actually in Aaron's apartment.
Oh, I think you're right. Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
So he knows Aaron's out of town.
Yeah, and that's where the
tried to call
bag.
him. Yeah, right.
He's out of town. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the punching bag.
Yep.
He's out of town.
Paying off.
Oh yeah.
They do a lot of that in this movie. Like, everything pays off. Which is
why
nice.
it's good. It's all the Legos clicking together. It's great.
No, I cracked up, and I after they talk, and you finally, he's trying to convince him to let him help him because he got to close the collider, and Peter B. Parker's trying to get home, and I love the part. It's like, first I have something very important to do. And it goes to a scene of him eating burgers. They had to go stop at some burger joint, and he's like, "Man, in my world, this thing closed like 10 years ago." And he's just shoving down burgers like that. That was funny. Yeah. That really got me.
And again, really cementing character. He's a reluctant mentor. He doesn't want to be. He's jaded. He's over the Spider-Man thing. Jake Johnson plays Peter B. Who's from New Girl originally. And he's a very, very funny guy. So he does a great job. And Chris Pine plays original Peter Parker. I didn't realize that.
For a very small amount of time, yes. Very
small amount of time, but I'm into that. He does a great job. And again, we're cementing this kind of, hey, help me relationship. And he's like, no. And actually, probably because of his life experience. almost saying, you don't want this. You don't want to go through this. Look what happened to me. I'm just kind of jaded and beaten down by life, which in that opening intro to his character is really touching. And it was really, again, that concept of a, guy going through a divorce, small apartment, he says, I'm adjusting fine. He's super duper not.
Crying in the shower.
Yeah, he's crying in the shower in his Spider-Man uniform. So good.
That was great, because that is kind of true to the comic. There is I am pretty sure that like in the future there, things don't always go so good for Spider-Man. I mean, that's very common idea that, because he puts Spider-Man first in his life and it affects his personal life a lot, which makes sense.
Yeah, and it's a self-centered thing. Peter B is now like, hey, I'm just going to go to Collider. I'm going to get back to my universe. Later. See ya.
All he cares about. And I want to say Alchemax is also from the comics. Is again, another payoff scene. Like earlier when Miles is in school, they talk about some smart stuff. I don't remember exactly, but the woman on there, like he ends up talking about dimensions or something, and he remembers that. He's like, hey, we go to Alchemax. That's where that lady was. And it again, paying off a scene that you weren't really planning on paying off. But it ends up connecting to move the plot. It's good. Like it's like everything in this movie. They make sure it pays off. They make sure it works. They don't just throw in stupid things for no reason. Yeah, that's nice.
So Alchemax is originally from Spider-Man 2099, and then it kind of got a earlier shot later on in the comics.
That's what I recognize it from.
When he sneaks into the classroom and they have the film strip playing, it's actually the doctor lady on the film that they're watching, and Miles kind of stands in the way to cover up her last name, which is another payoff later on. It shows in the bottom corner, it says Dr. Olivia, and you can't make out the last name.
I did not see that coming. Like it's still a little bit ways, but as they go in Alchemax and they end up breaking into it, they get into the place, and they're trying to hack in the computer, which again, more hilariously. But I did love the part when they're in a vent, they get out of the vent, and the doctor and Kingpin are in a different room talking right outside this hall. Right outside the office has like a glass type, like frosted glass window, and he's like, Miles, you just need to relax, because he's stuck in the ceiling. He can't let go. So then he starts singing some song to relax.
The song he sang at the beginning.
It was fucking hilarious. Like, I normally don't like humor like that, but I was laughing my ass off. He's just, I can't remember the song, but he's just singing. You see each finger start to come loose. He just keeps singing, and he's singing, and then he falls down.
Yeah, there's a lot of good bits in this whole Alchemax scene.
Why do you think, Mike, that you respond to this humor as opposed to like some of the other like
Avengers? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think because Avengers was so much more serious to me, and so much more like this is live action. You have a huge threat coming. The world is going to end. I mean, I know this had a world-ending type thing too, but for some reason it just worked. Maybe because I'm trying to think, it wasn't like, was I not familiar with it? I'd never seen this movie before. But I think it just fit the movie more for me than Avengers going, oh, he killed 30 people. He's adopted. Like this worked more for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like Bill says, where all the jokes fit the characters that say them. Nothing's just like, it's not like the Galaga guy where it's just a non sequitur. Like, it didn't need to be there. You could take that out and you wouldn't be losing anything. But all the jokes here like add to the characters.
Wait till we watch Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I'm looking forward to seeing that again. I remember really liking it, but I'm curious if I like it still. We'll see. Same reason. We'll see. I know you're not a fan, but
nope.
I will have to say my favorite bit. There's two favorite bits in there. One is when he can't figure out the password, so he just takes the computer. That is extremely clever, because that's a great idea. Why am I doing this now? I'll just take the whole thing and with me and just kind of work on it.
But that right before that whole flirting, when Peter B. Parker is flirting with the doctor, and then he ends up like because she's like, oh, and then he gets in the chair and everything seems normal. She's like, I can't wait to, and then she's like, you're gonna die. And she's like, I can't wait to see it. He's like, what? And then I think Miles like, what? And everyone, it's great.
When he's strapped in the chair with the octagonal restraints after Miles is stuck to the octagonal light.
I didn't catch that either.
And her glasses are octagonal. And he says, man, what's your name again? She says, oh, Dr. Olivia Octavius. Yeah. He's like, let me guess, your friends call you Doc Ock. Actually, my friends call me Liv, but enemies call me Doc Ock. And then we see the arms, and it's awesome.
The reveal is wonderful. Yeah, it's great.
I did not see that coming at all, and this is probably one of my favorite versions of Doc Ock now. Like I was like, okay, this works. This is funny. This is awesome. Like, this is better than the old man, except for Spider-Man 2 is a very good Doc Ock. But I was 100% on board with this Doc Ock. Like everything about, like when they run in the cafeteria and the guy's like, act normal, and he grabs the bagel. They're like, that's Spider-Man, get him! All of a sudden, like a chair turns into a gun. I'm like,
so great.
Okay,
He stole a bagel.
He stole a bagel.
It was great. I mean, that's the thing about this movie. Like, even if you're not someone into Spider-Man, like with Peter, like I know you're not a big comic book fan. I'm sure you were laughing your ass off too. And you don't have like the same connection with Doc Ock, like me or something.
Yeah, I was just along for the ride. I knew who Doc Ock was just because of Spider-Man 2, but that was like all my knowledge. And so it was surprising to me to see this side character suddenly become this big villain.
It was awesome. And then when we were saying before, he grabs the computer and you have a whole scene of them just running with the computer.
Yeah.
So he can't hack it. And then they end up jumping in the woods. You have like the scene where Peter is teaching Miles how to swing the trees. All that was enjoyable. And the whole time Doc Ock's trying to kill him. Like that was great. I love the tentacles on Doc Ock. They look kind of organic-y almost or something, but or maybe plasticky. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but they look cool as hell.
Yeah, they're like pneumatic, where it's air pressure that seems to be controlling them instead of being mechanical, like classic Doc Ock.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with this Doc Ock. This can always be the Doc Ock. I'm cool with that.
And I'm always a fan of, and this may be something else, but I really like the fact it's a female representation. Right? It's not like you said, an old man or something. It's cool. It's cool to see that, and having it be a female lends a little more agility, a little more a little more motion to the chase scene. Which again, another chase scene. This is our third, and again, higher stakes. And she's just phenomenal and very funny again. And the evil in her is not. It's not like mustache twirling evil. It's kind of has a purpose and a focus, like a science focus, So again, it's not just like I'm just a bad guy and gonna take that and kill the world. It's to focus on her work and her science that she wants to see come to fruition. So that's great.
Kind of get the feeling that she's just a little unhinged.
Yes. She is a little wonky, but
probably when you say I can't wait to see you die. I mean that kind of helps.
It is, yeah. It's like Bill said, it's very science oriented because she's like, young man, can I have that back? It's proprietary. Like she needs that computer back.
Yeah, and that I'm gonna watch you die, not because I'm an evil villain who just enjoys people dying. You're a science experiment.
Yeah,
You're my lab test. You're great.
It was really good. I mean, and then when Spider-Gwen first shows up, like in the woods, and they're losing, like they're about to get their ass handed to them by Doc Ock, and Spider-Gwen ties her up, like saves them. Like I really like Spider-Gwen, and as soon as I saw her take the computer and show up, I'm like, awesome, Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, her whole reveal is just badass. It's zipping around.
Badass.
Fantastic.
She's actually a new character. She came out in 2014, 2015.
Yeah,
really.
And her little intro here that we're about to get to is she says that for the past 2 years she's been Spider-Woman.
2015.
Yep.
I mean, Gwen Stacy's been around forever, but the 2014, but she first showed up in the Spider event, the first Spiderverse comic in 2014, 2015. That's where she first shows up.
She wasn't supposed to be a major character, but she became such a fan favorite. They're like, oh, we need to do something with this character. Yeah, and now she's huge.
Oh yeah, one of the biggest. I mean, and I also love like in her intro, which I already knew her intro, but I like how they talk about it. Where in her case, she got bit by the spider, and her best friend Peter Parker ends up becoming the Lizard, and she ends up trying to save him, but he ends up dying, and that was her loss. Where like almost every Spider-Man had Peter Parker loses Uncle Ben. Everyone always loses somebody, and she lost Peter.
Yeah, he's jealous of her superpower, so he tries to replicate him and turns himself into the Lizard.
That's what it is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not know that. And right after you get Gwen's background, you get the Kingpin's background, which again, it gives Kingpin a reason for what he's doing. It shows like he has a motive why he's trying to open this world. Like it isn't just because I'm a villain, I need to do evil things. He's trying to bring back his wife and kid who died in a car accident because he was being a villain, and he's trying to find them in a different world and bring them back to be with him again. Like that's a powerful moment too. Like it makes sense to why he's doing what he's doing.
You got to give a villain a motivation.
Yeah, I mean, that makes the best villain.
Evil.
You have to, and it's an easy one because you don't have much time because in about a few minutes we're gonna be introduced to 4 more spider people, but 3 more spider people, but You gotta give a villain some motivation, and it's a solid one. It's a classic one, but it works because it's classic, and it definitely gives it more.
I do love how they all go to May's house. Like that part was funny, and she goes in and he's like, May, and then she's like, Peter, it's you, and are you telling me you're from an alternate universe? And they're like, wait a second, that's a little too much of a guess there. that cracked me up too. That was funny.
Yeah, that's an emotional scene too, because May just lost Peter, and Peter B says in his background that he buried Aunt May, so it's hard in both directions seeing each other.
It was powerful. It was very, very good. And they go and I did crack up with the spider shed. She's like, here, I got something to show you. And they go back and he's like, yeah, I got one of these back home too. And then it turns out he's like, oh no, this is a little bit more. And you did see the spider buggy when you're going down the hill, down the whole thing. There's a spider buggy. I'm like, spider buggy, stupid thing, but it makes me smile.
I have one of those.
What is a spider buggy?
It's just a buggy.
It's a buggy that can stick to walls and stuff like that. It's made by Johnny Storm and Peter Parker.
Wow.
No,
I'm sure.
No, it's great. The reveal is good. It's just cool to see, now you have some tools at your disposal. I love Aunt May in this movie.
Yeah.
She is so good as kind of like the Alfred to Batman, who's, just again has the tools and access to the shed of death and destruction, and awesome costumes. I can't imagine the amount of just geekery that was going on in the theater when they saw real fans of the comics saw all those costumes lined up in a semicircle. I'm looking at them like, I don't know what these are, but I'm sure someone does. And someone has paused this movie and is just rubbing their face against the screen, because that had to be some sort of like fan service. There's no way it wasn't.
I knew 3 of the 4. I knew Peter Parker. I knew Spider-Man Noir. I did not know the girl with the robot.
Oh, no. I'm talking about
the costumes that are on display.
Okay, I knew majority of them.
You did. Okay, see, I just looking at it like, man, that wasn't there.
Partly, I knew a bunch of them because there's a Spider-Man game, there's an Infinite Runner for mobile that I used to play a lot, and some of those costumes were unlockables in that game, and I had some of them. So some like Atomic Spider-Man, but also I just know a lot about Spider-Man. So yeah, those are all real things from the comics too.
Yeah, including the PS4 costume.
Oh yeah.
That just came out.
That's funny. So at this point we're going down, and we finally get introduced to our new crew. My question was, now that I know this is all a comic, that makes more sense to probably in said comic. Are they references to the past, like again Noir or Peter Porker or adorable anime manga?
Anime I don't know for the manga girl, but Spider Noir was definitely a thing they did, and Peter Parker Noir, Spider-Man Noir, is in like one game, Shattered Dimensions. He's around off and on, except it's perfect with Nicolas Cage playing the character. Perfect. But and Peter Parker was a joke that's in the Spectacular Spider-Ham, a one-off issue that came out a long time ago, but now it's worth a lot of money because of this damn movie. I've seen that book for $5. I didn't buy it, and I saw it for $100. I'm like, fucking A, I should have bought that.
Wow, you missed out on that investment.
I was pissed.
So now that we're at this point, we have new Miles, we have Parker B, we have Spider-Woman, and then these 3 guys and gals. So who's your favorite of the 6? I'll start with Peter.
Definitely Spider-Ham. I love John Mulaney, so I feel like I could picture him. I picture him doing this voiceover while he was doing it. But he's just a fun little character, and he provides even more comic relief within comic relief. I feel like I like them all. They all have their interesting parts, but yeah, Spider-Ham definitely. I could see myself being a kid and really loving him. So he's funny. I mean, he's just a reference to God, Porky Pig. That was hard. Yeah,
he's adorable. He's absolutely adorable. Exactly. Look at that face. Look at that nose.
Would definitely be Spider-Gwen in this. That was by far my favorite. Yeah. I just love Spider-Gwen too.
Yeah, I like that. Like, I'm not usually big on comic relief characters. They usually come off across as annoying, but like Pete said, it's just comic relief on comic relief. He does have one of the best lines in the movie, once we'll get to later. But as far as favorites go, probably Miles once he comes into his own. Just the whole look and attitude is awesome.
Yeah, they all have their different levels of great. I adore Spider-Man Noir because A, Nick Cage is a national treasure, and B,
he's still a national treasure.
He still is. He is. Did I say was?
No, I said he stole a national treasure.
Oh, he stole. Oh no! Wow. You win
That
the
was
show,
funny.
sir. Oh my, that's it. Put a pin in that one. That was awesome. Yes, he is a national treasure, and I just love film noir in general. I just love that genre and the way they play off all the cliches of that genre and that style of film. The fast talking, the match burning down to his fingers, but it doesn't continue going. So you have to feel a little pain. I thought all of that was so beautifully on point. I adored it. Because I love all the different characters, but if I had to pick a standout for me of just joy, he was joyful. I loved it.
And Mike, to kind of fill in Penny Parker for you, she was one of the ones introduced in the Spider-Verse when it came about in the comics.
I read some of that, but I don't remember her in it.
Yeah, I think she was just in one of the intros. Like, she had her own standalone one-off.
Okay, I read the main book, and I read some of the off stuff, but not all of it. That makes sense.
So we got our team, our team of super pals.
And this is also when they end up making Miles sad because he doesn't feel like he's not up to, because he can't use his power. And they're like, he's not ready. He can't do this. And he ends up disappearing and leaving.
Which makes sense because, well, it's great because he's not.
Mm-hmm.
They're right. And they want to protect them. They're probably thinking he's probably going to be the Spider person in this universe. And y'all ain't ready to go on, take on Collider and Kingpin and Scorpion and all the other guys we find out about later on in the film. So they have a point. And it's really sad because you also feel for him because you like him. You want him to succeed. You want him to make it to the end. But it's like, yeah, brother, you're not. If you can't turn on your invisibility power right away, what you going to do?
So, yeah, you're not going to be able to do it.
Extraordinarily sad. Yeah.
Yeah, and they show that visually too. Like we talked about in Captain America. I said I was going to bring this up. When they're looking at the costumes and he looks at the Spider-Man one, and it shows the reflection of his face about chest level where he doesn't quite fill out the costume yet.
Yes.
Which comes back around.
It always does.
That's what's so great about this. Everything comes back around, as we've all said multiple times in this episode. And like I love it when he does what would make sense. He goes back to Uncle Aaron's apartment because he's which completely fits the character that he goes to. And I love this how he's in the apartment and the Prowler shows up. And this is a powerful scene too. When he's sitting there, he's hiding. The Prowler's looking for him, and then all of a sudden you see the Prowler take off his mask, and you realize who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize Uncle Aaron is the fucking Prowler. Like that was powerful to me too.
Hey Peter, how did that one hit you once you realize Prowler was a good bro?
Good is a relative term.
Good bro. I mean, I wondered if it was from. I wonder if that was established in comics in any way, but it still was a surprise to me as somebody who is not into any of this. I was surprised, and it gave me a heartbreak, and I knew it wouldn't end well by the end of the film. It was, and the scene where they're, where he's in the apartment and Prowler is trying to find him is just so tense, and it's lit. It's like on purples and it's blue and it's dark and it gives you a real sense of unease, and I think it was really well done.
Yeah,
that Prowler theme hits hard too with the opening. It's like a distorted elephant sound.
Yeah,
and it's like just a quiet room, and then that thing kicks in. It's like, holy crap!
That caught me too. It is extremely tense. The stalking is just. It reminded me quite a bit of. You ready for this? Another Jurassic Park reference, but I know where it came from this time. Peter, I'm sorry you don't know this. It's kind of like the Raptor scene, right, where you have somebody who's so underpowered against a extremely powerful. Opponent in the kitchen. Just again, he's hiding and he's hidden and have this stalking. If they find him, he's dead. There's nothing he can do.
Right.
I didn't realize I was going to mention this earlier. I am really here for when spiky things come out of hands or feet or bats because you see a hand and the hands, for a hand of a superhero, that's deadly. But when spikes appear out of it, oh man, we are at next level pain. Like if there's a bat that has spikes come out of it, anything that goes chunk with spikes, super down for. That's where my brain went.
Or needles going to people's spines, and you have a thing for that too, apparently.
Yes, I did. Well, hey, listen, what can I say? I'm a man of strange tastes.
I've learned that over these episodes.
I think we all have.
I do love how he ends up and Miles, after running out of Prowler's apartment, he ends up leading them to May's house where all the Spider-Men are, which again, I like how they're like, they didn't follow you, did they? They're like, no, they didn't. And someone pops in like, oh, they followed you.
So funny. So good.
It
Knock
worked.
on the door and everyone's spider sense goes off.
that whole fight in the house was also phenomenal. Like, I want to say this is also when they introduced the Scorpion in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't like the Scorpion in this movie. He is by far. I'm okay with most of the villain, but that version of him I don't like. How he is like a guy with a mutated scorpion tail and he has like scorpion feet. Or I don't like it at all. It bothers me.
Interesting. I for me, it was just a big bad. Like
I mean, stupid.
I didn't really have much of a connection to him because you really don't. He's just a big dude to beat on. Again, which is fine. It's a comic book movie. You need those. Who is the Frankenstein looking dude?
That's Tombstone.
Tombstone. Okay.
Kingpin's a regular hench people.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was gleaning little bits of it. Like I know Scorpion. I've heard of that term and that name. But I didn't know who he was. Okay.
It's kind of like Max Headroom or something. If anybody remembers that.
That's
Max Headroom.
I can't place it.
Where is that from?
It was like some 80s TV show.
Max Headroom. All right, come on. I can't let this slide.
I'm Googling it right now.
Computer generated like figure. I don't know. That's what I thought of when I saw it.
1987, 1988. It's a fictional artificial intelligent character known as for his wit and stuttering.
Oh, that dude. Yeah. That guy. Max Headroom. That's cool. He actually does.
Thought of when I saw it.
He has a very vertical head.
Yes. Looks a little bit like.
Okay.
Anyway,
not where I expected this to go, but that whole fight is just awesome. Like they do a great job in getting you an action scene, which also has it has a big moment that helps impact Miles and really again more character growth where Prowler's chasing after him, but the Prowler doesn't know that Miles is Spider-Man yet. And as they're climbing on top of the roof, he's about to choke him out, and Miles pulls off his mask. Uncle Aaron, it's me, and that is powerful. Like he stops. He starts to loosen his grip. He's like, wait, I can't kill my nephew. And then he takes off his own mask and, he's realizing like, I'm about to, like this is, Miles. And then he gets shot in the back by Kingpin. Like that also was powerful too. He just shoots him.
He knows too, because like he's backing up and he's got his hands in the air and there's like this real quick, his eyes dart to the side where Kingpin is. Like he knows what's coming. Like he just defied Kingpin. There's no coming back from that.
It's such a powerful moment too, and like everything leading up to this, like where he takes the body, he runs. Peter B. Parker helps him out, like does something so he can run away, and then he gets to the alley and he's talking to Prowler, and I can't remember what Prowler says, but when he dies in the alley and he's sitting there over his body, and a cop shows up and it's his father, Uncle Aaron's brother, and that's also powerful. And then he's like, I gotta put an APB in a Spider-Man when he finds his brother dead, and it is really good.
It's shocking. It's just absolutely shocking. I mean, when I first found out Aaron was Prowler, I gasped audibly. I went, I literally caught me so by surprise. I did not see it coming. And of course, the death scene is just touching, and it's touching because it's earned. The movie earned it. Worked hard to make that happen, to make that scene work. That's why a lot of the older Marvel movies don't work, because they just make things happen without setting up the groundwork and building it up. So when that hard scene does happen, it really punches. So
it's a character-driven movie.
It is.
It is action-packed, but it's got every character has some backstory and some emotional connection to someone else, and that's why it works so well.
It's almost literally like an ensemble cast. Like it's like that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not just a plot-driven movie, which sounds like a stupid thing that I'm pretty sure I just made up. But
no,
like MCU movies, it sounds like movies got a movie just for the sake of movie, and so plot happens.
Thor has to fall from the thing, pretend to die, so Natalie Portman can have a teary scene that wasn't earned. Like, sorry, not earned. You didn't put in the groundwork. Putting two attractive people around a fire, looking at a piece of paper, does not equal earned romance. It's not earned. You didn't.
And you still have not got over that, have you?
I was over it until we started talking about things not earned, and that's like right now. That was the first thing that popped in my brain.
Like somebody traveling 30 miles from Guatemala to America in 20 days.
We missed the perfect opportunity to bring that up, Mike. Is when Miles is telling Peter's like, "Hey, you can teach me to swing on the way to Alchemax," and then it shows him on the bus. So that would have been a great moment to bring that up.
See, I was okay with that because there was a scene. Then they didn't travel cross country with no money when you're begging for a coin. Like,
so I'm saying it's earned. It's like And
there's another after Uncle Aaron dies, the Prowler, and you have another powerful. You get hit with a ton of powerful scenes where Miles goes back to his room and he wants to leave with the Spider-Man. He wants to go help them because someone has to stay behind to close the collider, and whoever does is going to die unless it's, him from this world. And they're like, Peter B. Parker, who's already kind of, depressed and down on life. He's like, I'll stay behind. I decided. And he's like, you're not ready. He ties him up. He's like, if you can't break out of this, if you can't do this, you're not ready. And they just leave him there. They just leave him tied to the chair. And they even gag him. They even shoot the little fighter thing, web across his mouth. And his dad shows up, knocks on the door. And he's like, son, I need to talk to you. And he can't talk. He's just sitting there, just listening. And it's a powerful moment where his father doesn't tell him, Uncle Aaron. He's like, I love you, son. I know we're not the closest, I know, but I love you. And it was really powerful.
Yeah, that was, for me, that was like the most powerful scene. And it's just like he sees his shadow under the door and he's, he can't speak, of course, but, it's just a one-sided conversation. But still, it got me right there because it was like I haven't seen a scene written that powerfully in most other movies.
It was really well done. I was it had me. Like I had bought into this. I was in. And then even like when the next part where then Miles, he does break out. He finally, after talking with his dad, he's finally able to figure out how to activate his electric power, and he burns the ropes, and he's starting to realize how to turn invisible, how to use these powers he was given, which is all just so great.
Yeah. And that's the one little thing I think might be a chink in the armor with this movie is the concept of all you need to do is believe in yourself is a well-worn trope, which is basically what happens here. He hears his dad tell him he loves him. He hears his dad just kind of really soften up. And like I said earlier, all a kid wants is his dad to be proud of him. That's the term I was looking for before. You just want your dad to be proud of you. And when he hears that his dad's proud of him, that gives him the confidence to take that forward. It's a worn trope. It works here because, again, you really love all of these characters and it's set up very well. Yeah, it's just that again, that concept of like, all you gotta do is believe. It's like, well, I could believe all I want. I could flap my arms and fly, but guess what? I ain't jumping off a building. So,
but you're not in a movie or a comic book.
Nor was I bit by a radioactive spider. So,
and if you are in a movie, it's a horror film we're in currently, so there is no happy endings. Nothing.
So I kind of took it as it's not just him believing in himself. It's that Jefferson Davis believes in him, and Aaron tells him as he's dying that Miles is the best of them. So it's like he sees all these people that like he has to protect. He has to do something to fight back. So he's finally ready to take on that great responsibility that comes with the great power.
Right. And that's and again, all that makes sense and it works. Just for me, the trope is a little worn. But again, I'm not sitting there throwing popcorn at it. I was still super there for it. It is a beautiful scene. Like as a dad, I can't imagine what he was feeling, to be a touch estranged from his son, trying to reach out, knowing he's there. You can see the shadow, it's not like he's just not there. You can see he's there. And you're thinking as a dad, I'm trying to reach out. My son hates me so much. He can't even respond. And the disdain that he turns and he walks away defeated is beyond anything I've seen in quite some time, to be honest. Like someone else said, I don't know if I've seen something that good as far as emotionally touching. Yeah, it was just heartbreaking.
That's really intense, which is what you're going for. Because again, it's character growth. Like the next part where he finally realizes it, he goes where May is, and she's like, I've been waiting for you. He goes back to the house and he goes into the spider lair, and you see him find one of the Spider-Man suits, and then he spray paints it because that's his thing. He spray paints it black. He puts a symbol on it, which is a spray paint symbol. Like he's making it his own, which is again great. It was really good. And I think we missed a scene we did miss a scene earlier that I have to mention. At one point when all the Spider-Man get together right before they get attacked, they fix the collider and they all remake it. You see smart people doing smart things. I mean, it was
yay. Makes me happy.
I was waiting for something.
I mean, it was pretty brief. I mean, they're fixing the collider and all.
Was it not smart people enough for you?
No, they're plenty smart. She's a dang genius. I mean, it didn't really catch me. I might have been taking notes at that point and just didn't hit me. I'm sure I'll watch it again. I will certainly watch this again because it's wonderful. And maybe I'll just bask in the glory of 5 seconds of smart people doing smart things. Peter, in case you don't know, that's one of my favorite things in movies.
I didn't know that.
Horror.
Yeah, along with body horror.
Yes, along with Junji Ito horrifying body horror. Yes,
that comes up a lot in this podcast. So, and I love all that. Like when they go to info, because they realize the collider is underneath Kingpin's building, and they go to Kingpin. They infiltrate the building, and all that is cool. Like when they first drop into the dining room, and everybody's wearing Spider-Man masks, because Kingpin is doing like a dinner in honor of Spider-Man, even though he's the fucker that killed him. Like that was good. Yeah. that had me. And like, they're wearing the Spider-Man, so they just infiltrate, just wearing the costume, just walk like, do, we're normal, we belong here. And when he sees MJ, and MJ like, oh yeah, I just wanted to ask you, he's like, I'm sorry, MJ, I'll be better. She's like, I just need some bread. He's like, I'll be better. I'm not gonna let you. He's like, I just need bread. And even it was stupid, I liked it. And then Gwen's like, we'll get you bread. He'll get you bread. And then she's like, we're not getting her bread. Let's go. It was
I always thought that was kind of a weird scene until I realized that it's coming from the point of view of someone who's planning on dying here shortly. Like, this is his one chance to apologize and say goodbye.
Oh yeah, because he was planning to stay behind.
Gives a little different context.
It's still good.
I'm super into it. And guess what one the next shots are? Bread! The next shot is a shot of shaking bread. Everything pays off.
That's what's so good about this movie, though.
Take a drink every time someone says it.
I seriously, no, we should have started that drinking game. Actually, Mike, you should absolutely, at the beginning of this, just put in a little voiceover. Every time someone says it pays off, have a drink.
No one will be able to listen to the next
episode. No, that might not go so well.
No, it won't, but it'll be hilarious.
That's more editing than I wanted. Well, it's simple, but still not going to happen. All right, and this is also when you have the portal finally activates again, and because earlier I don't even completely mention it, but when the portal was activated, things started changing. Like you saw like buildings and things start to kind of get very weird and like glitch out, and things added. And you see that again when the portal's activated, the world's starting to, because the whole idea of the story that by activating the portal, what Kingpin's doing to get his family back, you're going to have all these worlds combined into one, which will then destroy the world itself. And he doesn't care because he's Kingpin. So,
he's single-minded. He has a single-minded motivation. He wants his family back. Yeah,
it was good. And this is where you get like the huge action scene at any, every superhero movie, where all the villains show up and everybody's just fighting. Like you have Scorpion, Doc Ock. Prowler's dead. I don't remember who else is there besides Doc Ock and Scorpion. I think there's Tombstone maybe.
Yeah, Tombstone's there.
Tombstone's a stupid villain, man. Never.
I like his fight scene with Noir Spider-Man though, where every time he hits him, it like shows the old-timey onomatopoeias come out. On the third one, it just splashes applesauce real big in the background. Like, that's awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Noir Spider-Man is great with Nicolas Cage doing the voiceover. Like it's great. We said earlier, and like even just the whole fight scene, because Noir Spider-Man also uses a gun, not in this, but in the comic.
Yeah.
Which they don't touch on. But that was cool. Like they paired the right people against each other, and the whole fight scene is just badass. And I want to say Peter Parker B is trying to close the collider. He gets the goober inside, which is a flash drive, into the outlet, but he's getting choked by Doc Ock, and that's when Miles shows up to save the day. And this is when they see Miles in the new costume and realize that he learned how to control his powers. Because when he first comes in, you don't even see him; he's invisible. And Doc Ock just starts punching herself. I'm like, why is she punching herself? I was really confused. I'm like, what the hell? It didn't compute right away. It did not compute.
That's
for
funny.
A couple seconds, and then I was like, okay, like it got me. I was on board. I was laughing my ass off. Like everything with that fight was just badass too. Like it was very good.
Sitting back and enjoying those LSD trippy visuals that we got going on.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I wasn't even drinking during this. Like I should have been. It would have been more fun, but I wasn't. I had to go midway through this movie. I had to pause the movie and go drive somewhere, then come back and then finish the movie. So, but I should have. It was awesome.
I have nothing else to add to that. Honestly, the fights are kinetic. They're very physical. So everyone gets a chance to shine, which is a Marvel staple. Marvel's very good at that. Everyone gets their own screen time. They get their own moment. But certainly in this one, my favorite moment was probably, I think it was Scorpion and the little robot girl, and she loses her robot friend. I was sad. Man, little robot friend had little X's on his eyes and hearts. It was really adorable. Again, I'm not a fan of the Tombstone character. We never get a chance to really see him more than a thug, which is fine. Big old Herman Munster head, just slugging away with Noir. But yeah, everyone gets a chance, and everyone gets a chance to contribute into the battle. Again, all that LSD stuff is just beautiful, high contrast colors. It's a great scene, and again, massive stakes. Now we're at our final nadir of the movie, or nadir, does that mean high? I don't know. We're at the height of the movie. I might have used the wrong word. We're at the height of that. The climax. Thank you. We're at the climax of this film, and everything is now coming to a head, and everything that we've worked towards is now working. And it's fantastic and exciting, and it doesn't go too long, which is important in these things. I think a lot of, especially some Marvel movies, and especially other movies previous, just the fights go on too long. You know, the filmmakers think, oh, this needs to be a 10-minute action scene. And it's like, no, you can do it in 3 and really be effective and really be fun. So it's great.
I mean, it's all you need. You don't. You're right. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Like it has all the different beats. Miles opening the portal. You know, you have the spiders leaving one by one. They each say something before they jump in. You have then Kingpin finally shows up, and you have. You know, and you have another scene where when Peter B leaves, where he does the same thing. He does a sweep kick to him, grabs him, and because he's going to stay behind to help him fight Kingpin, he's like, "You need to go to MJ. Like, you need to go. I got this." And everything is just so damn powerful. And then like the fight with Kingpin and Miles, like again, that's just so powerful, and it's just awesome. Like because Kingpin is kind of a normal guy with like just a lot of muscle for some reason, and it's just so good. Like it grabbed me. Like I enjoyed that whole fight where they're going back and forth, and you know they're running across buildings that are in this portal and everything. It's all badass. And he finally like the climax of the fight too, where he hits him and he knocks him down, and you have the cop Miles' dad who sees him, and he sees Spider-Man. He's like, "Get up, Spider-Man! You can do it! Get up!" And that part where earlier in the movie we did not mention, where Miles asks him, "What do you think of Spider-Man after he gets the power?" He's like, "I don't," you know, and he doesn't like Spider-Man because Spider-Man's a vigilante. He's not good. He's not obeying the law. And this part is so powerful to him because he's behind the new Spider.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. Honestly, I mean, it's I said yes because there was dead silence, so I'm like, I gotta chime in something. It's a really touching scene, and it's great. And also, there's a scene there when Kingpin actually sees his family and kind of reaches for them, like so you get that moment of softness where he just turns, his face turns, right, and his eyes open a bit, right, and he kind of just has that moment of, oh, there they are. And of course, they're still afraid of him. Is so good. It's extremely touching.
Because at the same time, he's grabbing Spider-Man and like pinning him against the subway train.
Right.
And they're starting to phase in and phase out. So he's doing what he did when they first saw that and had scared them away too back all those years ago for him. Just so powerful.
Yeah, can't help but feel for him.
No, you can't. I mean, a lot of the good villains, you will have a touch of sympathy for them. You won't make them complete monsters.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think I've said this in other episodes of this, but a villain needs a positive motivation. They need to think what they're doing is right, even if the results are wrong. Because if they're just doing things for the sake of being evil, then they're just, mustache twirling villains, tying women to. Yeah, exactly. Right. They got to be complicated or else you can't care. And they do this very quickly. With good tropes, losing your family is extremely hard, but it works, and it's a quick fix for that kind of motivation. And to have that kind of dichotomy between this extremely villainous person to have this one soft spot, super works, super great.
I really liked it too. Everything like the part of that fight wraps up where he grabs Kingpin with the webbing and he's like, hit the green button for me, and he throws him into this panel that has a switch that they couldn't hit earlier. That was great. Like that's one way to press a button, throw a big giant fat guy at it. Like
which just before that is he gets back up after Kingpin hits him. He's like, "Hey Kingpin, you ever hear of the shoulder touch?" Puts his hand on his shoulder and then hits him with the Venom strike.
I forgot about that.
Not gonna say it. Just not gonna say it.
It pays off. But
Mike, we're supposed to say
it. Oh, and everything about this. And then when Miles, and then I want to say it's right after this where they kind of go their separate, like the building, and then you see Miles' dad calls Miles on his cell phone, and earlier in this movie throughout this he did not answer him. Like he was ignoring the phone calls multiple times, and he finally answers it, and he's like, "I know we're not on the best terms, thank you for answering," but he's like, "I gotta tell you about your uncle," and he's like, "I know already." And I mean, even that is so powerful. In the part where when Miles goes down to his dad and he hugs him, and the cop's like, "Why is Spider-Man hugging me?" And he's like, "I love you." And then I feel like even though he doesn't say he's Miles, I feel like the dad knows. Like there's a couple, he tries to play it off, but I feel like he knew that's his son. It's not answered in this movie.
Yeah, well, the final thing he does is he slaps one of his tags on one of the signs, and his dad kind of gasps. And I think at that point his dad knows his son is Spider-Man.
Oh,
that's what I took from it. I don't know. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
I think so. I think you're right in that one.
That's what I took from it. Yeah. Again, everything ties back. I love you, which was a callback to the very beginning of the film when he would refuse to say I love you to his dad in public, when he's awkwardly standing in front of the school with his dad on the bullhorn. I'm your dad. So it calls back to that when he says I love you. And oh yeah.
It was good. It's so damn good. And this movie ends on such a positive note too. It shows you what each of the spiders are doing in their own universe and how they're handling things after this. And you even see, like, the one that I want to reference is Peter B. Parker, where he shows up at MJ's house holding the flowers. And that's all you see. The door opens, he smiles, and he's holding the flowers. And you find out throughout the movie that the reason why they broke up because she wanted to have kids and he didn't, so he just left her.
He was ready to fill that room up with bread, the bread that she wanted.
It's so damn good, like everything. And then when you see Miles swinging around town, and this didn't click to me until the end of the movie, where he said it's been 2 days since he became Spider-Man. This whole movie takes place over 3 days.
Wow.
Which I was like, okay. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm like, all right. I should have known because it shows, but it just didn't click. And it's just so damn good. Like, everything with the ending is just spot on to me.
Yep. We get another montage. Yeah.
Oh, and one thing we hadn't mentioned that we should bring up, especially now that we had mentioned before the recording, that Bill wanted to mention, the music in this movie, the soundtrack.
It's sensational. It's so good. It fits the environment. It fits the character. It fits Brooklyn. It fits everything. The adventure themes are wonderful. And of course the final theme as he's doing awesome Spider-Man stuff like we know Spider-Man does. He's falling with his hands behind his head. He's swinging around. He has the big heroic at the top of the building looking at the landscape. All of that is so satisfying and wonderful. That's all the stuff that even before we had the original Spider-Man movies, that was the stuff we just loved about it. Spider-Man swinging around, doing cool Spider-Man stuff. And the fact that this character that we've come to love over the course of the last, hour and 40 minutes is finally able to do that is cathartic and glorious and wonderful and a treat. Yeah, the ending is gorgeous.
It was great. I loved everything. And then it also kind of ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger where he's laying in bed listening to his Sony headphones and Spider-Gwen starts talking to him. Like, she says something like to show there's a connection between that she was able to connect with the world.
Yeah, that's great. And then we get so then we have before us our credits and we have an end credit scene.
There is?
Hey, fellas.
Yeah,
I didn't pay for this.
I wonder Mike didn't have it on the notes if he didn't see it.
No, I got up. Well, I mean, I could say I got up and left the theater, but I just turned off Netflix. But,
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
so
a stinger.
Hey, you guys, what the hell was I watching? What was that?
So I knew
I
as soon as it says meanwhile in Nueva York, I knew right away this is 2099. We see Miguel O'Hara talking to his digital assistant, talking about how the events of the movie, how the world didn't explode. He says, well, is the goober ready? She says, it's called a gizmo. It's like, yeah, whatever. She's like, with this, you should be able to make the first man-made jump between dimensions. And he goes back to where it all started, Earth 67, and it plops him down in an episode of the 1967 Spider-Man cartoon that everyone loves to meme.
Yeah.
It's like, who the heck are you? And they're just pointing at each other, and then they argue about who is pointing and how rude it is to point. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it. It's hilarious.
Yes, I'm looking it up.
And who's
right
that character now? Yeah, who's that character? The Spider-Man?
Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099.
Okay.
One of my favorite Spider-Man, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That costume is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like all black with like a red spider. And yeah, I didn't know the character. I just figured this is another Spider-Man in another verse. And he's now able to swing between the multiverses, which I'm sure is going to play a big part in the next iteration, which is going to be coming out in 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, way too long from now.
I just didn't know it was there.
All I knew was like the meme, so
I got
it. I was like, I figured it was like early Spider-Man, and it just clicked with me that it's the meme stuff. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
And Miguel O'Hara is the best Spider-Man too. So I really like Spider-Man 2099 for some reason.
Okay, well, probably because it's good. I don't apologize for liking things.
It's not good.
What do you mean it's not good?
It's not good.
You're allowed to have opinions and tastes. It's okay.
Yeah. No, I've read a bunch of his stories. I just like the character. I like the design of the character for some reason.
All right, cool. Awesome, man. I know nothing about any of this stuff, so all I know
By
is
the
this
way,
movie's
that after credit scene is hilarious. I just watched it just now, and that is fucking. I gotta watch it again on the TV. But that was okay. That was funny. They're pointing at each other. Oh god. I need to watch
Obviously,
that now.
Spider-Man pointed first.
and that is Spider-Man
All right.
into the
Any
Spider-Verse.
last things to say before we go to shelf or box?
Shelf or box it.
We didn't quite touch on the demise of Doc Ock, where they're doing the big fight, and Peter B, Gwen, and Miles all square up. Is like, get ready, this is going to take a while. And then she gets hit by a flying semi.
Yes.
They're like,
yeah.
never mind.
And we also forgot someone gets hit with an anvil at one point too. From Peter Parker.
This is that's my favorite Spider-Ham line that I mentioned earlier. Scorpion says, "So what are you? Some kind of cartoon?" Spider-Ham says, "You got something against cartoons?" Which I think is like a kind of a jab to all these people that aren't going to see this movie because it's quote unquote a stupid cartoon.
Huh.
Like, well, you're missing out. So
yeah, I was missing out until last night. So hey, I've been meaning to watch this movie for months since Netflix got it. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this, and never watched it.
Same here. And it wasn't because it was like some dumb animated cartoon. I just just kind of flew under my radar for a while, despite everyone I know who's seen this raving about it. And again, people I trust. So
watching quality TV shows such as Smallville and One Tree Hill.
Oh man, we should do a Smallville episode.
Oh god,
I
got to season 8, and I'm just done. We haven't watched it since we got the season 8 episode 1. We're like done. No more Smallville for now. Now we're watching One Tree Hill. So we went from one high school drama to another high school drama. So I don't know.
Is Riverdale up next?
Riverdale probably more into it. One Tree Hill somehow got me. Like first 2 seasons were really good. Now I'm falling off of season 3, but it's strange. Oh god. Okay, I think it's time to go to Shelf Box. I'm gonna go first. I did not I had heard good things about the movie, but I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know a whole lot about it. I knew it existed, but it kind of had went under my radar. Like it wasn't something that I should have been grabbed into this. It's definitely going on the shelf. I'm so happy we finally watched it. I'm so happy we got to talk about it. And I'm going to recommend this movie to everybody from now on. This is probably the best Spider-Man movie out of all current Spider-Man movies at this time. And I've seen them all. This is by far the best.
Oh yeah.
How about you, Peter?
Definitely shelf it. This was, out of all the superhero movies I've seen, it's definitely in the top 5, maybe even top 3. And I thought, as a non-comic book person, I really responded to it. I thought it was very inventive. I thought it was very colorful. I thought it was very fresh. And I would definitely watch it again and again.
Okay. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, the only way this would go into a box as if it was like a gilded box of diamonds that I would put on the shelf. That's about it. Okay, I'm over exaggerating a bit. This is gorgeous. It's such a treat. The one word I kept running through my head as I walked away from it was joyful. This is a lot of joy in this movie. A lot of love for the source material. You can tell the directors and the filmmakers adore Spider-Man and understand what makes the character phenomenal and makes the character enduring. Again, everyone said all the fun things, right? It's shot beautiful. See that? That's how good it is. The animation is gorgeous. It's expressive. So your facial animations are just beautiful and really convey emotion in a visual way. The script is amazing. It's funny without being corny. Everything pays off. Take that final drink, y'all. It's the final thing for me is just, I don't use this term very often, but it's a masterclass in character building. Like, this is how you build characters, y'all. Take notes, film students, because this is what you do. And the way it builds this very diverse group of characters into people that you really dig, many of which you don't get a lot of time with, especially the final team. It's phenomenal. I'm so glad I saw it. I agree. It's the best Spider-Man movie I've seen. The only one I haven't seen is Homecoming. Is that the most recent? Or Far From Home. Far From Home is the most recent live action. I have not seen that.
Don't worry, you will be.
I will be. Yes, I'll wait I'll wait because I don't really need to now. I have this. If I need a Spider-Man fix,
it won't be that. It won't be that much longer. I mean, at the rate we're going, we'll get there quicker than.
I know. But so this is obviously a shelf. I did it for all the reasons I stated, and thank you. Thanks, Michael, for recommending it and forcing me to see it. This was a treat. So thank you.
We talked about doing movies outside the MCU, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to throw out all my favorite movies, and we'll see what they pick. So yeah, like I said at the top of the episode, it's like forever on my shelf. This is my favorite movie right now. Like I watched it 3 times in the last 3 days. I'll probably watch it again today, honestly. God, where do I even start? I'm at a loss for words. Like, I didn't say a whole lot. I could talk about this movie all day. I didn't say a whole lot during this episode because I mostly wanted to hear what you guys had to say about it, especially having never seen it before. It's so damn good. Like, if you haven't seen it yet and you're listening to this episode, first of all, what are you doing? Go see it. Now that we've spoiled the plot, but go see it. It's great.
Even if you spoil the plot, it's still worth seeing. Honestly,
you gotta see it in motion. Everything's so colorful and vibrant. Like, it's no surprise that the producers worked on The Cloudy with a Chance of Beat movies before this, because they're all super colorful and vibrant too. Yeah, go see it. It's all I'm saying.
Go see it.
Pull it all off our
aggressive
collective shelves. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's about what I expected. I had the expectation that all of us would put this on the shelf because it's just so damn good. So again, I want to thank Peter for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
Because I mean, I wanted to bring, I know you're not a big comic book fan, but it was perfect bringing on just an amazing movie. And while you're still off to work, we're taking advantage of it.
Why not?
So, and for those that you did hear his plug earlier, if you're still, definitely there'll be a link in the show notes for his book, so you can go check that out.
The Fifth Civilization.
Published. And the 3rd book will be coming out in October, so probably not that little bit. The book will come a little bit after this episode gets published. I had planned. And again, I want to thank you for keeping along with us in the MCU. The next movie we're covering is going to be the coveted best movie ever, Iron Man 3, which I have not seen in years. So maybe my opinion will change.
Yeah, I saw it once in theaters, and that's it.
I've never seen it, so this will be a new experience. Hey guys, will this be a treat as well?
I like that this episode turned into the gushing that we thought Avengers was going to be.
That's funny. Yeah.
So I'm expecting to go the opposite direction next time.
Maybe our expectations will be wrong.
I hope so.
Maybe it'll be flipped.
5 years.
Maybe it'll be flipped. Maybe I'll love it and find all these nuggets of wonderful, and you guys hate it. Like Avengers. Avengers, I was like, yeah, I'm super into this still. And you guys were, nope, I grew up. So,
I don't understand how that happened.
I think it's very funny, and I think you guys had valid points.
We will be covering Iron Man 3. This was a bonus that you got 2 this month, the month you're listening to this, because we're going to try to start doing 2 movies a month, probably Marvel to kind of knock out the rest of them, because by the time you're listening to this, I've already gotten a bunch of them under my belt. So we're going to be doing that for you guys. And again, I want to please check out our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Balby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney from his EP Bite the Bullet song, The Cool Kid Squad. So definitely check him out if you like our intro and outro music that you probably have heard. Maybe over 100 times at this point if you listen to every episode, like I have. So I think that's all I need to say. I want to thank you guys for joining me again for something a little different.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Fun. All right, and we will see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.
See you.